Have you ever noticed strawberries growing upward instead of spreading across the ground and wondered if it was just another social media illusion? Most gardeners assume strawberries can only creep along the soil, sending runners in every direction and slowly taking over garden beds. But here's what many people never discover. Strawberries can be grown vertically, and when they often produce more fruit in less space while staying cleaner, healthier, and more productive than traditional ground-grown plants. Climbing strawberries are not a trick or a trend. They're the result of understanding how strawberries naturally grow and how their runners can be guided instead of removed. With the right setup, strawberries develop stronger runners, improved airflow, fewer disease problems, cleaner berries, and longer harvest periods. In this video, you'll learn exactly how to grow strawberries as climbers, step by step, using simple materials and proven techniques. Whether you're gardening in a backyard, on a balcony, or entirely in containers, this method transforms small spaces into highly productive strawberry walls. Once you experience strawberries grown this way, it's hard to go back. 1. Understand what climbing strawberries really are. Strawberries are not true climbing plants like grapes, beans, or cucumbers, and understanding this difference is essential. They don't wrap, cling, or attach themselves to structures. Instead, strawberries rely on a different and extremely effective growth strategy. Runners. Runners are long, flexible stems that extend from the main plant, searching for new places to root. In natural conditions, these runners spread across the soil, allowing strawberries to quickly expand and dominate open ground. Along each runner are nodes, and every node has the ability to develop into a brand new strawberry plant. Vertical growing doesn't fight this behavior, and it simply changes its direction. When you add a trellis, frame, tower, or other vertical support, you're offering the runners an upward route instead of a horizontal one. The plant isn't aware that it's climbing. It's simply doing what strawberries have always done, expanding. That's why vertical strawberries are so effective. They work with the plant's natural biology instead of forcing it into an unnatural role. This shift in thinking is crucial. Many gardeners struggle with climbing strawberries because they try to make the plant behave like a vine. The real goal isn't to turn strawberries into climbers, but to guide their natural spreading habit into vertical space. Once that concept clicks, the entire system becomes simple, efficient, and incredibly productive. 2. Select the best strawberry varieties for vertical growing. Choosing the right strawberry variety is the cornerstone of a successful climbing system. No matter how well you build your structure or prepare your soil, the wrong genetics will limit results. Vertical growing requires strawberries that can do more than one job at a time. They must grow actively, send out runners, and produce fruit continuously. The most reliable choices are everbearing and day-neutral strawberries. Everbearing strawberries fruit in repeated cycles throughout the season. Instead of exhausting themselves in a single harvest, they move in waves, producing leaves, runners, flowers, and berries in rotation. This steady rhythm makes them ideal for vertical systems, where ongoing harvests are far more valuable than a short burst of fruit. Day-neutral strawberries take this even further. These plants are unaffected by day length, which means they flower and fruit whenever temperatures are suitable. As long as conditions stay mild, day-neutral varieties will keep producing berries while simultaneously sending out runners. This combination makes them the top choice for climbing strawberries, especially in containers, balconies, and greenhouse setups where season control is easier. June-bearing strawberries operate very differently. They are genetically programmed for one large harvest each year, typically in late spring or early summer. After that, they shift almost all their energy into leaf and runner growth, not fruit. While this makes them aggressive spreaders, it limits their usefulness in vertical systems designed for continuous production. They can be trained upward, but they won't provide berries for most of the season. When selecting plants, prioritize varieties described as strong runner producers, extended or continuous fruiting types, well-suited for containers or compact spaces. These traits signal a balanced growth pattern, strong enough to climb vertically while still maintaining consistent flowering and fruiting. With the right genetics, climbing strawberries stop feeling experimental. Maintenance becomes easier, stress levels drop, and total yield increases dramatically over time. At that point, vertical strawberries aren't a question of possibility. They're simply a matter of how tall you want your system to grow. 3. Build a stable, Open vertical structure. Climbing strawberries rely completely on the structure you provide. Because strawberries don't cling or wrap on their own, they need a framework that supports runner guidance while keeping plants healthy and accessible. The structure doesn't need to be complex or expensive, but it must be stable, open, and thoughtfully arranged. The most effective vertical systems all share one goal: allowing runners to move upward naturally while maintaining airflow, light access, and ease of maintenance. Excellent structure options include wood or metal trellises, wire grids or cattle panels, ladder-style wooden frames, fences with open spacing, stackable strawberry towers, balcony railings or privacy screens, greenhouse walls or interior frames. Many gardeners build successful systems from recycled materials like scrapwood, fencing, or old shelving. Visual perfection isn't important, functionality is. A well-designed structure must provide three critical conditions. First, airflow. Strawberries are prone to fungal problems when air becomes trapped around leaves and flowers. Vertical systems concentrate plants into tighter spaces, so airflow becomes even more important. Open designs allow wind to move through freely, drying moisture quickly after watering or rain. Second, accessibility. You need to reach runners easily. As the season progresses, you'll guide, tie, prune, and sometimes root runners into containers or pockets. Structures that are too dense or rigid make this difficult, leading to tangled growth and reduced productivity. Third, light distribution. Sunlight must reach every level of the system. Solid walls or opaque panels block light from lower plants, reducing flowering and fruit size. Open grids, wire panels, or slatted designs allow sunlight to filter through the entire structure throughout the day. Height directly affects yield. Even a relatively short structure, and around 3 to 5 feet tall some, can dramatically increase production per square meter compared to ground planting. Vertical height creates new growing space without expanding your footprint. As runners climb and establish higher up, you're essentially stacking multiple fruiting plants in the same area. Taller structures can boost yields even further, but stability becomes essential. The frame must support the combined weight of plants, fruit, and moisture without shifting or collapsing. Always anchor structures securely in the ground or fasten them firmly to walls or railings. A solid structure doesn't just support the plants. It determines airflow, light exposure, plant health, and long-term productivity. 4. Prepare the base plants and root zone correctly. The real success of climbing strawberries is determined at the base, not on the trellis. No matter how well designed your vertical structure is, it will fail if the foundation plants are weak. Every runner, every flower, and every berry draws its strength from the original root system. When roots are stressed, the entire vertical setup suffers. When roots thrive, everything above them follows. Whether you're growing strawberries in open ground, raised beds, or containers, soil quality is absolutely essential. Strawberries demand soil that is loose and well aerated. Fast draining but moisture retentive rich, in organic matter never compacted or waterlogged. Dense or compacted soil suffocates roots, restricts nutrient uptake, and traps excess water. In vertical systems, these problems are magnified. Gravity pulls moisture downward, often saturating the base plant, while upper sections dry out. A recipe for root rot and system failure if drainage is poor. Proper spacing at the base is non-negotiable. Each strawberry plant must have room to grow freely. Space plants 12 to 18 inches apart, even if that feels excessive at first. Tight spacing creates a cascade of problems. Restricted airflow, higher disease pressure, smaller, lower quality berries, reduced runner production. Vertical systems depend on consistent runner growth. If the base plant is crowded or stressed, runner production slows. And without runners, the entire climbing concept collapses. Mulching the root zone is not optional. Apply a generous layer of straw, pine needles, or shredded leaves around each plant. Mulch provides multiple benefits at once. Stabilizes soil temperature, reduces moisture loss, prevents soil from splashing onto leaves, suppresses weeds that compete for nutrients. Root zone stability directly controls reproduction. When roots overheat or dry out, the plant shifts into survival mode and reduces flowering. Cool, evenly moist roots signal safety, encouraging continuous flowering and vigorous runner growth. Think of the base plant as the engine powering your vertical system. Strong roots drive growth upward. Weak roots bring everything above them to a halt. When the root zone is built correctly, climbing strawberries don't merely survive. They accelerate, spreading upward and transforming vertical space into a productive wall of fruit. 5. Position the system for optimal sunlight. In vertical strawberry systems, sunlight is no longer just important. It becomes the dominant factor controlling success. Because plants are stacked at different heights, light is rarely distributed evenly by default. Poor placement can leave lower plants starved while upper ones flourish, or cause the entire structure to underperform. For consistent flowering and fruiting, strawberries require a minimum of 6 to 8 hours of direct sunlight per day. More light almost always means stronger runner growth, higher yields, and sweeter berries. The best placement allows sunlight to strike the structure from multiple angles throughout the day. In most climates, south-facing or southwest-facing positions work best. Morning sun is especially valuable because it dries moisture quickly, reducing disease risk, while afternoon sun fuels sugar development in the fruit. Avoid placing vertical systems against solid walls that block half the day's light, in narrow corridors where sunlight hits only one side, beneath tree canopies or roof overhangs. Whenever possible, leave space behind the structure. Even partial backlighting dramatically improves productivity at lower levels and promotes more even fruiting from top to bottom. Insufficient light leads to predictable symptoms: sharp decline in flower production, thin, fragile runners, small, pale, acidic berries, plants stretching toward light instead of fruiting. Strong, consistent light produces the opposite effect. Plants remain compact, runners thicken, flowering intensifies, and berries develop richer color and higher sugar levels. Light isn't just energy, it's a signal. It tells strawberries how much growth they can support and how much fruit they can produce. A properly lit vertical strawberry system doesn't just grow upward, it produces evenly from the base to the very top. 6. Let runners develop. Don't remove them. This step requires a complete mindset change, especially for gardeners accustomed to traditional strawberry care. In ground-level growing, removing runners is often recommended because it pushes the plant to focus on fruit rather than spreading. But vertical strawberry systems operate by entirely different rules. In this setup, runners are not a problem. They are the engine that drives the entire system. Cutting runners too early is one of the quickest ways to destroy a climbing strawberry project. Runners are how strawberries search for space, establish new plants, and multiply. In a vertical system, they are the pathway upward. Without runners, there is no expansion, no stacked production, and no meaningful increase in yield per square meter. When runners first appear, leave them alone. Do not prune them. Allow them to grow freely until they naturally reach your vertical support. During this phase, the plant is actively exploring its environment and allocating energy toward growth opportunities. If runners are removed too soon, several problems follow immediately. Vertical growth comes to a halt. The plant repeatedly wastes energy producing new runners. Overall fruit production declines. Only once runners have reached the structure and developed sufficient length and strength should they be managed. Until then, restraint and patience are essential. The objective isn't uncontrolled runner chaos. The objective is intentional runners with a purpose: to climb. 7. Direct runners upward with care. Once runners make contact with the structure, your role shifts from simply observing to actively guiding growth. Strawberry runners are surprisingly flexible, but they are also fragile. They respond best to slow, gentle redirection rather than pressure. Pulling, twisting, or sharply bending runners can damage internal tissues, disrupting water and nutrient flow and weakening or killing the runner. Always use soft, forgiving materials for support, such as garden twine, fabric strips, soft plant ties, clips designed for tender stems. Avoid thin wire, zip ties, or rigid fasteners. Runners thicken as they mature, and tight materials can slowly cut into the stem, causing long-term damage that may not be visible immediately. Attach runners loosely. The goal is to support their direction, not to restrict them. Leave enough space for thickening, slight movement, and natural sway. This movement actually strengthens plant tissue and improves airflow around leaves and nodes. Guide runners upward gradually, following the natural lines of your structure. If a runner resists a particular direction, don't force it. Redirect it gently over several days. Strawberries adjust quickly when given time instead of pressure. Think of runner training as encouragement, not control. When runners are guided properly, nodes form evenly along the stem. New plants establish more reliably, stress levels stay low. Vertical growth becomes stable and predictable. Gentle guidance turns runners into the structural backbone of a thriving strawberry wall, a system that grows in harmony with the plant rather than against it. 8. Decide the purpose of every runner. Every runner gives you control. How you use it shapes the entire vertical system. First option, root runners into planting pockets or containers on the structure. Secure small pots, fabric pockets, mesh holders, or planter boxes at different heights along the frame. Fill them with loose, well-draining soil. When a runner reaches one of these pockets, gently press the node onto the soil surface and hold it in place. Within a short time, roots will begin to form. Once the node has rooted, that runner becomes a permanent, productive plant within your vertical setup, adding strength, stability, and long-term yield to the system. Second option, allow runners to remain suspended. In wall systems, towers, or hanging structures, runners can simply drape downward and still flower and produce fruit. Berries grown this way stay clean, dry quickly after rain, and experience significantly lower pest pressure. Many experienced growers combine both strategies, rooting selected runners to build a living framework, while allowing others to hang freely for faster, low-maintenance fruiting. 9. Adjust watering for vertical growth. Watering is one of the biggest adjustments when moving from ground-level strawberries to climbing systems. In vertical setups, gravity constantly pulls water downward. This means the lower root zone often stays moist, while upper planting pockets dry out far more quickly. This uneven moisture distribution is one of the most common reasons vertical strawberry systems fail. The goal is uniform moisture at every root point, not just at the base. Water slowly and deeply so moisture can soak into the soil rather than rushing straight through. Pay special attention to the main root zone at the base of the structure. Any runner nodes that have rooted into pockets, containers, or fabric planters. Upper pockets usually need more frequent checks than the base. Test the soil by touch. If it feels dry about an inch below the surface, it's time to water. Avoid overhead watering entirely. Wet leaves and flowers create ideal conditions for fungal diseases such as gray mold and powdery mildew. In vertical systems, moisture can linger on foliage due to uneven airflow, increasing the risk even more. Drip irrigation is the most effective option, delivering water slowly and directly to the soil. If watering by hand, pour gently at soil level instead of spraying from above. Consistency is more important than quantity. Strawberries react poorly to dry-out periods followed by heavy soaking. Even steady moisture keeps plants flowering, runners growing, and fruit developing smoothly. 10. Mulch the base to reduce stress. Mulch is essential in climbing strawberry systems. It acts as insulation and protection for the root zone. Vertical growing exposes roots to greater temperature swings. Soil at the base heats up quickly during the day and cools rapidly at night. These fluctuations stress strawberry plants, and stressed roots lead directly to fewer flowers and smaller, poorer quality berries. Apply a thick layer of organic mulch around the base plants. Straw, pine needles, shredded leaves, or dry grass clippings all work well. Mulch delivers several benefits at once. Stabilizes soil temperature, reduces moisture loss from evaporation, protects shallow strawberry roots, suppresses competing weeds, maintains loose, healthy soil structure. Most importantly, mulch keeps roots calm and stable. Calm roots support steady growth, continuous flowering, and improved fruit quality. When roots overheat or dry out, strawberries switch into survival mode and slow or stop production. A well-mulched base acts as the anchor for the entire vertical system, nourishing, cooling, and stabilizing everything growing above it. When watering and mulching are managed correctly, climbing strawberries stop struggling and start thriving, producing cleaner fruit, stronger runners, and a longer harvest with far less effort.